We'll go ahead and get started. We'll keep admitting people as they join. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, Reducing Transit Worker Assaults. I am Heather Domlin. I'm the newly appointed Executive Director for the Southwest Transit Association. For those of you that don't know me, I was previously on the board of directors. I served there about 4 years, and I'm currently the CEO and General Manager for Mountain Line Transit in Flagstaff, Arizona. I am retiring, which has afforded me the opportunity to come over and serve as executive director. So right now I'm wearing 2 hats and managing these 2 workloads while we transition. I'm glad to meet those of you that I haven't already met through our conferences and opportunities, and we really appreciate you joining us today. So SWTA is proud to host this informational session as transit worker assaults continue to be one of the most pressing challenges facing public transportation agencies nationwide, gaining attention both nationally and locally. This important discussion features transit leaders from across the country, and attendees will gain valuable insights into improving operator safety, strengthening incident reporting, building a culture of safety, and implementing practical strategies to reduce workplace violence. On our panel today, will include brief presentations that include real-world experiences from representatives that span the industry. So our 4 speakers are Bobby Cisneros, Deputy Director with ABQ Ride in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Bobby has nearly 2 decades of leadership experience overseeing security, training, marketing, planning, and information technology. Bobby is behind initiatives to improve rider safety, service expansion, and public engagement. We also have Curtis Boyd. Curtis is retired from Pittsburgh Regional Transit after 30 years serving in a leadership role. He's also the founder and principal of Curtis Boyd and Associates. Curtis's experience includes transit law enforcement, crisis intervention, public safety leadership, and he was responsible for many de-escalation training programs in his community. Andrew Cassidy from Boston MBTA is the Senior Director of Digital Strategy and Engagement. Andrew has nearly 2 decades of experience in marketing, communication, and crisis management. Over his years of public service, he has navigated some of the most challenging situations and built trust in times of uncertainty. And last, we have Ed English. Ed is the CEO of eLerts, the sponsor of today's webinar. Long before crowdsourced safety was a category, Ed was writing video games, including my personal favorite, Frogger, for the Atari 2600. Today, as CEO of eLerts, he applies that same instinct for human-centered design to public safety. Ed's mission hasn't changed much: keep people moving and keep them safe. So a few housekeeping items before we turn this over to Ed to kick us off. All attendees are in mute, and we ask that you use the comment or chat function at the bottom of your Zoom screen to ask questions. We will address questions after all 4 speakers have had an opportunity to speak and share their story today. We are recording the session and will provide the recording along with the PowerPoint presentations on SWTA's website next week. With that, Ed, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Heather. I really appreciate everybody joining today. This is a very important topic in the industry. Keeping transit safe, we got to keep the workers safe, first of all. And I think we have a great lineup of speakers here today. I'm looking forward to hearing them speak again. Some of them I've spoken with before on this topic, but I think you'll find the content interesting and look forward to your participation after the speakers. There'll be a Q&A session so that anybody can ask any questions, and we're happy to answer. There's a couple of short videos that I know Curtis Boyd and myself will be showing. I've got a 14-second video. There's a little bit of foul language in there. I'll warn people before I play the video. It's only 14 seconds, but it's reality of what the bus drivers are facing on a daily basis. So with that, I will turn it back over to Bobby. Bobby is going to be the first speaker from ABQ Ride.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Heather. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today. Let me begin to share my screen with everyone. Hope everyone's having a good morning. I'm doing the Zoom for the first time from my iPad, so this is new to me. All right. All right, folks. Well, I was introduced, my name is Bobby Cisneros. I'm Deputy Director with ABQ Ride. I'm super excited to be here today, and let's just get right into it. We're going to talk today about ABQ Ride's mission and give you a system overview. I'm going to share about the broken window theory, how we used it to implement into our safety strategy. We'll talk a little bit about the eAlert CSA app and then some data. So at ABQ Ride, our mission is to provide the community with safe, clean, and reliable transportation. And I often tell everyone that I speak with that when we make a decision at ABQ Ride, it's based on this mission. If it's going to provide safe, clean, reliable service, then it's probably a decision we want to go with. And we like this mission because our leadership team knows that they can make the decision based on our mission statement, and they don't have to come talk to us. So just some quick stats about ABQ Ride. We are part of the government agency. ABQ Ride is part of the city of Albuquerque. We are the largest transit agency in the state of New Mexico. We are a zero fares program. During calendar year 2025, we had 7.75 million passenger boardings. So our buses stayed pretty busy. We provide 4 core services in Albuquerque. We have your traditional fixed route, our BRT line that we like to call ART, stands for Albuquerque Rapid Transit, our paratransit line, which is we refer to as Sunvan, and our newest addition is our microtransit we call ABQ Ride Connect. And we do all this with the annual budget of approximately $60 million.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I got them, but I can't get them.
You turn
I'm
your
sorry.
volume up on your phone?
Yeah,
Mute
all the way up.
yourself.
Maybe they can hear you.
Can
That's
you
the
guys not
scary
hear
part.
me?
Please mute
But I
yourself.
should be able to hear them.
Let me see.
I
Can you
know,
all not hear me?
Hang on one second. There's someone talking over you.
but we supposed to be able to hear them.
Can you all hear me okay?
We can hear you now.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Bobby. I'm trying to find the person unmuted and get them muted for us.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay.
No, go ahead.
So when it comes to driver assaults at ABQ Ride, we take it very seriously. Obviously, providing safe service is part of our mission. So we've implemented some de-escalation training. We've gone back and reviewed our policies, and we readdressed them to make sure that they're protecting our workforce as well as the public. And I'm happy to say that from FY25 to FY26, we've seen a decrease of about 42% in driver assaults through some of the efforts that I'm about to share with you. Some of the most common incidents that we still see occurring out there obviously would be the physical assaults, threats with weapons, spitting, or verbal threats. But the majority of these incidents that involve are threats rather than the physical contact. So we're happy to see that the physical contact has gone down. And in this picture, you'll notice that we've also installed driver barriers. And I know a lot of agencies across the country are doing that a lot more since COVID. So we're one of those agencies that have done that. We at ABQ Ride decided that we were going to implement the broken window theory. Some of the work I've done previously in the city of Albuquerque, I learned the broken window theory. It was written by a couple of individuals by the name of James Wilson and George Killing. If you are not familiar with the broken window theory, I highly recommend you go and Google it and download it. It's free. It's about a 3 or 4 page read. It's not very long. But basically, the broken window theory states that if there's an abandoned building, somebody comes by and throws a rock through a window. If no one addresses that broken window, somebody's going to come by and break another window, and eventually they'll start to graffiti it. Weeds will start to grow, and before you know it, unwanted activity starts to occur in that location. So when I came to transit in 22, when I came back in January of 2022, my first order of business was to get the place looking nice again. We had to repaint our shelters and get our buses fixed, our buses cleaned, I mean. So we really got after it. We put out an RFP to get our bus wash fixed, get that taken care of so our buses look nice on the road. We repainted all of our bus shelters. And we just really got to work on our appearance. And I'll often use an old real estate term, which is we went after the curb appeal. And that just sends a message to folks that don't ride the bus that we are a clean, safe system. So that was our first order of business. Then we got after our safety ethos at ABQ Ride really was about using a multi-layered approach. We understand that sometimes sending in a sworn officer actually can be triggering for some folks. And sometimes somebody just may need help. So we partnered with our Albuquerque community safety team to address behavioral health needs and concerns. Maybe if it's an unhoused individual that's looking for some shelter, we're able to approach them. And this has really helped us with our long-term safety and security plan because now we're helping folks and meeting folks where they're at and getting them the services that they need. Through this partnership, we've also reached out to our local police department, APD or Albuquerque Police Department, and we created a transit safety officer program. We currently have 30 transit safety officers. These two individuals that are pictured, they're referred to as public safety officers or PSAs. They ride on buses while our transit safety officers remain in mobile units and they drive around and respond when our drivers need their help immediately. Through all of this, we've been able to address new policies that keep the drivers safe, and we're able to collect some real-time data, which was really missing from ABQ Ride prior to 2022. Again, with the training, we really felt that our old method of dealing with unruly passengers was outdated, and it, quite frankly, it didn't fit in with our multi-layer approach. So we revamped our leadership training. We got a new training division manager. He came in and he's really started aligning training with our mission and our core values. He's helping the whole department to think of safety culture, really emphasizing de-escalation in our policies. One of the big concerns that I had when it came to safety was that the drivers really took the sense of ownership, like it was their bus, it belonged to them. And as a result, they brought it upon themselves to refuse service to individuals or kick people off the bus. And that's not what we're about. Our job is to move folks from point A to point B. And if somebody's misbehaving, then they need to call it in and let transit safety officers address those individuals. So one of the key components that our training manager did was he implemented this following exercise that I want you all to participate with. I want you all to take a deep breath in with me for 3 seconds. Y'all ready? Let's go. Now tell yourself, I'm at work. Remain calm. Keep the situation under control. By doing this little exercise, it has really, really helped to remind the driver that they don't own the bus, that they're at work. The bus is actually property of the city of Albuquerque. So that little exercise has gone a long way. Thank you for participating with me, those that did. We also decided to implement technology, and I cannot be happier with the use of the CSA app. The CSA, I mentioned earlier that we have 7.75 million passenger boardings. That's a lot of extra eyeballs that we weren't taking advantage of, and now the CSA app does that for us. It allows the passengers to let us know in real time if something's happening. If they see something that doesn't look right, they can let us know immediately, and our dispatch team can respond instantly. I've had the opportunity to observe a lot of these conversations between passengers and our dispatch team in real time, and it's exciting to watch as we get out there and we handle situations before they escalate. So let me share some stats from the CSA app. What's interesting about this, right off the bat, you'll see year over year, we doubled the number of users that are using the CSA app, and we continue to make that one of our main marketing messaging. So we just anticipate that this number will continue to grow. What we also found interesting was the areas of concern that were being reported through the CSA app. If you notice here, it's bus stop maintenance is at the top of the list with 91% of all reports, whereas safety accounts for only 2%. So it really changed our way of thinking about safety in the transit department, where we thought that public safety was the main concern. It's actually the cleanliness of the facilities. And you'll notice down here at the location, the big winner there was at our bus stops. People want to be on clean buses and at clean locations. A few other stats here. We noticed that we saw vandalism complaints going down, and what we really saw was that trash number increasing. Just another indication that people want clean service. So the big picture, once we were able to make these adjustments, we started looking at the data outside of CSAT, and it's starting to show the impacts of all our efforts, including the technology. We've seen a decrease of 21% in overall safety incidents year over year, and we can't be happier. I mean, we're really ecstatic that this is going on. Our Class A incidents are those more serious crimes. Those have decreased by 39%. So we're really excited about the work that we're doing around at ABQ Ride. We're really excited about the multi-layered approach that we're taking, using cleanliness and technology. So what's next for us? We have to fix our public perception. People still see public transportation as a negative instead of recognizing how valuable it is for a local economy and for the growth of your local community. We need to continue implementing our long-range security plan. We have to continue to look at technologies like CSAT so that we can modernize our system and keep on the cutting edge of safety and security. And we got to keep our safety culture awareness increasing. We want to keep our safety teams out there, keep them visible so that people understand that we are out there and we're paying attention. All the while, we're building stakeholder trust. So we look forward to the next steps at ABQ Ride, and I'm very thankful for you all listening to us. I unfortunately have to cut out, but if you have any questions for me, please send me an email at bcisneros@cabq.gov. That's BSISNEROS@cabq.gov. And when the slide deck is put up at the SWTA website, my email address will actually be on there. So once again, thank you all for your time and enjoy the rest of the presentations.
Thanks, Bobby. We appreciate you giving us some time. I do know you need to hop off, so we'll share your email in the chat as well so that we can get those questions addressed. Thank you again. We are going to go over to Curtis. Curtis, I'm sure 30 years, you've seen some change in what we're all experiencing, and we would love to hear your story. And you should be able to share your screen.
Well, thank you. I'm going to do that right now. Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's enjoying the chat here, the program. Let me just share, share. I'm going to do desktop 1. Sound. Second here. You probably can see my notes right now. I'm going to fix that in just a half a second. Let me get this out of here. Okay. There we go. From start. Okay. And I'm going to try to swap displays here. How's that?
Swap them back.
Swap them back. Thank you very much.
You're perfect. Thanks.
Okay. So again, my name is Curtis Boyd. I'm a de-escalation, what they consider expert. I have 30 years in law enforcement leadership. I've trained crisis intervention police officers most of my career in how to interact with people exhibiting crisis behavior. I've been advocating for de-escalation training since 2008. I've had some strong fights in this field, but they were good fights because they all turned out, instead of looking crazy, I turned out to look pretty brilliant after all. But I want to share something. I want to start by saying that I just checked out a study from MTI, and they're the Mineta Transportation Institute. They did some work with the San Juan College, and the transit employees who were attacked on the job, they're just trying to do their job, right? The unique exposure as public-facing workers operate alone, easily accessible to their passengers, and often being a lone enforcer. I like a lot of what Bobby said about, the operator taking less ownership over the bus. But I want to present something to you. I think one of the issues with reason why we're seeing some of the assault numbers continue to rise in some areas is I think it comes from perspective, the transit corporate perspective. From the corporate viewpoint, role of a transit operator's position is rewarding, community focus, and a lot of the messaging during onboarding emphasizes safety, professionalism, and customer service. But once these frontline employees like operators get into the job, they see something totally different. I just wanted you to take a moment just to watch this video to watch the two perspectives.
Let's talk a little bit more about our riders. Persons with disabilities, seniors, dependent riders, and children. These customers rely upon our services because they may not be able to drive or choose not to have a vehicle for various reasons. And that means that they use our services to go everywhere, including work, school, to doctor's appointments, to the grocery store, to religious events, visit with family and friends, entertainment venues, and more, because we are their mobility option.
Was I yelling at you though? Was I yelling at you though? Shut up. Exactly. Shut up. Don't. Let me get that pepper spray the out of this. Get out. Get out. Why you run? Come back.
Stop being rude, mother. Honky, bro. Bye. Yeah.
I think many of us in transit, we're starting to understand that we need more realistic trainings, right? A lot of the trainings that we have that I've noticed over my 30 years were kind of sort of pristine HR type, customer service, maybe customer experience type trainings. And they weren't really rooted in real world. So by the time the operator gets out on the road, this impacts their mental health over time. So when you look at someone that comes in, they're brand new. I've seen this time and time again, coaching transit workers, especially frontline employees. They come in with they have the job. They're going to take care of their family, and they just expect to go to work and be able to do their job. But when they get there, they find that they're dealing with a diverse group of people. Public facing workers, they work alone. They're easily accessible. Bus drivers account for 63% of attacks in the US and Canada. Many incidents stem from routine passenger interactions, that is, fare enforcement. Over 85% of attacks are committed by lone individuals rather than groups, typically adult males between the ages of 19 to 30, using no improvised weapons. Now, we want to urge transit unions, policymakers to take this seriously, and we are. We have the FTA giving us directives. We have all kinds of studies that's being done. We can no longer ignore this. But my belief of my 30 years of law enforcement and training law enforcement officers is that if we're going to tackle this assault issue, it starts with the frontline, front-facing employees. Assaults of transit operators have been steadily rising since 2008, and I've started paying attention to it because the closing of all the state mental health hospitals, the widespread closing of the state mental health hospitals, these closures left many individuals without adequate mental health care, leading to an increase in people experiencing crisis in public spaces, including transit systems. Now, I'm not saying that all incidents that happen on the bus are mental health provoked, but you can just think about it this way. The unhoused population exploded after the closure of the state hospitals. The prison population exploded as well. So there should be some correlation between assaults of operators and the interactions between our passengers. The one thing that I focus on, and when I'm doing the crisis awareness training, and I've done it all across the country, is I teach operators about responses, their response style. The only thing that we truly have control over is how we respond when presented with escalated crisis behavior. How do you respond to someone when they're yelling at you, screaming at you? Do you become aggressive? Do you become passive aggressive? Do you become passive? These things have to be taught. We have to teach operators the same way that we teach police officers how to interact with people exhibiting crisis behaviors appropriately and safely. And that would be assertive and professional. It's easy to tell someone to be calm but it's a whole nother thing when they're actually in the middle of it. And answering calls for operators for over 20 years of my career, I've seen some pretty bad situations happen when operators do not respond properly. Here's something I want to talk about, and Bobby kind of alluded to this a little bit. Transit operators have no strategic advantage to be in conflict with anyone about anything. I mean, it's just that it's not built for that, right? Most do not recognize escalated crisis behavior and often unintentionally escalate conflict, resulting in operator assaults. In the world of transit, there's a common misconception that operators should take on the role of the captain of the ship. I was around when this started, when they started talking about this. I thought it was bad in the beginning. I understood why they wanted people to consider themselves the captain of the ship, but it kind of sort of made operators feel kind of aggressive, like this is my bus. I often will refer to our operators and other transit workers as a pilot. You know, a pilot is, if you look at a pilot, they're very emotionally intelligent when dealing with conflict. Um, pilots, instead of positioning themselves as operators or captains, they have a better analogy to view them as airplane pilots. Pilots are trained to stay calm, collected, and focused, no matter how turbulent the flight is. And I've been on some turbulent flights. I don't know about you. Another thing that I focus on, and I think this is important, this is why we have to have operator training. I try to get in front of our workers, the ones that are out in front of the public. Is your personality more important than your safety? Oftentimes, operators, frontline workers, even some supervisors that are now forced to answer calls because, truthfully, being in law enforcement for as long as I have, we don't have a lot of resources to give transit. And if you don't have, as a transit agency, your own transit police department, you could be waiting some time before help arrives. So I think it's really important to train crisis de-escalation, teach operators how to deal with people exhibiting escalated crisis behavior. But we also have to teach them what are the escalated behaviors that you're seeing and how to identify them. Anybody see anything in this picture that looks a little off? Well, it's obvious. I have it circled there. Awareness is key. And this is the key. I'm going to show you a little short video. There's a little bit of language in this video, but I want to show you how the operator's behavior can impact a crisis situation. And again, please excuse the language.
Know what you want, bro? What? What you say? I said, what you want, bro? By the way, you ain't going that way. You ain't going that way, bro. Because you can't pass this.
First, he pulls a $1 bill and then started pulling pennies from his pocket.
Yeah, that's she right. This is what you putting us through, man. Can't pull your pants up, man. Hey, man, look, man, I'm gonna call somebody to help you, bro. No, bro. No, I want you off of here, man. Man, you done pulled your dick out in front of my face. Talking about? On my life. Get off my bus. What are you talking about? Don't worry about it. What the hell you talking about? Don't worry, dick out. Money and don't worry about it, man. Somebody be here to get you. Now, yo, get your ass off before you get beat up. The man just stabbed.
I don't know if you can hear that. It's a little low on my end. Hopefully you heard that. If you didn't see that, that person stabbed the operator just that quick. And this is the thing that I think that we're missing when we're training operators and conflict. Oftentimes the operator gets triggered by the behavior or by the sight of a person, or sometimes they have these long-term, what I call beefs, where one little thing can happen. They have a 20-year beef between, that happens between passengers. But for me, in conclusion, there are 5 warning signs of escalated crisis behavior that we need to be teaching our operators. And that's verbal, nonverbal, emotional, psychological, behavioral, and substance use. When interacting with the members of the public employees, we'll occasionally encounter individuals who are experiencing some form of crisis, regardless of what that is. They could be angry, it could be fair, socially economic culture stuff, it could be not having any money. In many cases, there are observable signs that a person's behavior is intensifying. we have to teach our operators how to control themselves when this is happening. This is easier said than done. This is a program, and with crisis awareness, the training that I'm doing across the country, this is helping individuals that are in frontline position understand that. So with that, I'm going to thank you, and I'm going to pass this over to my friend Andrew. And thank you for being patient with me. Hopefully, I didn't go over too much.
Good afternoon, all. Thanks for taking the time to join us here today for these incredible presentations. And I think even just before I get started, it's just so important for those of us, especially who work in government, who work in transit, to really appreciate the work being done by those frontline individuals and understand what their day-to-day is, but also what our roles are in improving those to make sure that they are safe and to make sure that we're doing everything we can on our end to make sure they get home at the end of the night. So I'm just going to bring up my presentation right quick. I apologize. I am not the most Zoom proficient person. We made the switch to Teams and never looked back a while ago, so. All right, can you see all that? Awesome. So the MBTA has been using the eAlerts CSA app for quite some time now. Long before myself, I believe it actually resulted as a follow-up to the Boston Marathon bombing back in 2013. When it first went live, this is, again, probably almost 10 years before I joined the MBTA. When it first went live, it had a big push, and I think we saw a lot of positive results. However, the reality is it ended up falling to the wayside. Catastrophes pass, people's memories shorten, and while the application was still live and certain people were still using it, the general knowledge that this was the go-to safety program for the MBTA really just wasn't there. So we recognized that there was a need to reinvigorate, to bring this back to people's top of mind. Also, we're talking about 10 years later, more and more people had smartphones and smart devices to be able to use this software. And also hoping to somewhat demystify what the process is. Even with dialing 911, a lot of people kind of wait that half second. They're not 100% sure what that interaction is going to be. They're not sure if their situation warrants reaching out to the authorities. And we wanted to dispel all of that. So we had our phase one, which is really just get it back out there, reacclimate people to the application and all of the great services it provides. Being able to tell, in real time, talk to our personal transit police and let them know, hey, there's an unruly passenger. There's something that just doesn't look right in one of your stations, things of that nature. But the plan was, as we were launching this, we started talking to our internal audiences. We started talking to our frontline operators. We started talking to the unions that represent them, our human resources department. And it became unfortunately apparent for us, as I know is true for all other nations across the country, that the trend for operator assaults was on the rise. And initially, and I'm sure the fellow communicators on this screen can appreciate this, they came to us, they said, we need a poster. And a poster is probably the most requested thing that comms people get and ask for, especially for internal audiences. But we knew we could do better. We knew that we could, instead of just telling people, hey, you're going to get in trouble for doing this, we knew we had to reach out to a different audience. Rather than focusing on the kind of individual, like the kind you saw in the previous videos we've watched, would a sign have really made a difference to those people? So instead, we decided to reframe this and put the onus and shared responsibility on the people actually on board the vehicle, to our fellow riders. And that's really where the I Rely on You campaign really came from. Our Rely on You campaign was really a way for refocusing on the CSA app, but especially through that lens of, hey, We have about 1 million riders every day. They see things, and a lot of the time people just turn up the headphones, they put on the sunglasses, they try to ignore. So we kind of created this relationship and really just emphasize the community that uniquely exists on public transportation, to say, hey, if you are seeing something, just like you're relying on your operator to get you where you need to go, they're relying on you to speak up if something's going on. So that's where the video series came from. So in order to kind of get this message across, we decided who best to tell people what's going on, not the general manager, not our chief of police. Let's talk to the actual operators and motor people who have experienced this and have them share their stories. And this was a difficulty in and of itself for us, was being able to identify these people, but B, finding people who are willing to share what might be one of the worst days of their lives. But being the brave individuals that they are, they kind of were willing to take that on in order to help protect their fellow employees, which I think says so much about the men and women who operate the MBTA. So I'm just going to play a quick video for you all. Just got to swap my share screen right quick. Hopefully the audio works on this one.
My name is Alik. I'm a bus operator at Cabot Garage. I've been with the T for about 19 years. A few years back, I was on the 16th group and somebody spat on. Being a bus operator, you try to do the best that you can. You try to de-escalate it at the most, but you have to make the best out of it, honestly. But it can definitely be challenging. Well, to treat me as I treat them. I treat, a mother, a father, a husband or a wife. And so when they walk on the bus, I want them to see the same thing. I want them to see a father have 2 kids. That's what I want, a neighbor. That's what I want, because that's exactly who I am. Just like you rely on me to get you where you need to go, I rely on you. If you see something, say something.
So we did, I think in total, we've done about 6 of these now. Let me swap back screens for you right quick. But again, the primary focus for this was really letting people tell their own stories. At no point did we script anyone or ask them to really embellish anything. These are their honest stories, and for that reason, each video is quite unique unto itself. We have these 4 here, but this has been an evolving process. Once we, I think there was that initial trepidation from operations before they saw the finished product, but once these started surfacing, we got inquiries from other areas that are also frontline staff that wanted to kind of share their stories. So we have station inspectors, we have transit ambassadors, anyone who has that sort of interaction with the general public. They wanted to kind of highlight their experience and also, again, their role in that public transit community, so that our riders can speak up and support them and call out bad actors whenever that might happen. So I think in total now we have about 6 different videos with more on the way. Just because this isn't a one and done. Unfortunately, these videos did not cure the epidemic of transit worker assaults, but we wanted to also prove that this wasn't just, hey, we did it. It went out, I think maybe 2 years ago now. These videos are supported across a bunch of different mediums, but they are still running to this day, and they're expanding, and the message is even changing a little bit. And as you can see here, we had it on broadcast, we had it on all of our public access, as well as across a litany of our social media channels. So this was a social first campaign. The videos were designed to go out on social and be basically evergreen content for us. But we wanted to make sure that these weren't, you post it once, you hope for the best, and whatever happens, happens. We wanted to make sure that these kind of had that impact. So thankfully, I work for an incredible department, the Customer and Employee Experience Department over at the MBTA. And this was really where we got all of our heads together to see how we could pull every single lever that the department had to offer to really support this and really get that message out there. So one of the benefits for us is we have in-station digital signage in a good number of our stations. So as you can see here, this is actually showing people who are currently using our systems, so our perfect desired captive audience, and just kind of reinforcing that. And then the nice thing was, obviously, we're not going to play a full video in here. So this was a video, about a 15-second video, just to add some movement. But we're able to push the campaign out there, drive people directly to our website, encourage them to download the app, because that's what was, that was our really big call to action. We wanted people to be ready in the event of. You don't want someone having to go to the app store, try and remember the name of the app as something is happening. The best time to prepare is before something happens. So that was great. And then we had our in-vehicle subway cards. And again, this also just reinforces the story component, the human component. Previously to the operator-specific piece, we had a very similar look and feel with the black, red, and yellow background and just a QR code telling people to grab the app. But by adding that human piece, by telling people, encouraging people to hear the full story, we created that relationship. And that relationship was super important to us because we did this, I'd like to say a bit intentionally, which was we launched this campaign immediately following in April, which immediately follows Transit Driver Appreciation Month, which some of you may already know. And during Transit Driver Appreciation Month, we showcased and celebrated our employees to really just show, make people fall in love, make people appreciate them beyond their job and as people. So after building up that, that caring level and that community level with operators across our entire system, by establishing that need immediately after, hey, the people you care about are facing an issue, it just reinforces the importance of downloading the app and again, speaking up on behalf of the people who are operating the service. And, obviously with any campaign, you hope for the best, you look at all the metrics, but what really matters is what are people doing? And, so here's some examples that just highlight exactly what was coming in on the CSA app. Some again with photos, some without, but this goes directly to our transit police department. They are incredible at responding in a very timely manner. It is near instantaneous. There is someone dedicated at all times. I've used this app countless times in my own travels for just wellness checks on certain individuals. Others who might have been getting aggressive, whatever it may be, something that didn't belong in a station. And every single time I get that response right after. And again, it makes, as I like to tell people, you can sell anything once. The reality is it good enough to go back to? And having that positive background with our transit police who do follow up, it helps people believe in this product to then want to keep using it. And then the other piece is not only are these individuals using it, but whenever we see someone voicing a concern of something they experienced either in the moment or during that day, of course, we as an agency are telling people, we can directly dispatch or we can tell people to use the CSA app. But what really proves that things are working and that this has become part of the MBTA experience, so to speak, is that, across all these different examples, people are always saying, hey, this happened, you should really download the CSA app. Hey, this should happen, the CSA app, if you haven't used it yet. Please use the CSA app. And there's countless numbers of these recommendations. And again, it's not just because they saw it on a billboard, it's because they saw it on a billboard, they had to use it at one point, and they found that to be a positive experience with tangible results, which made them want to recommend it to additional people. These are just a few of the other digital channels that we have access to. Again, thankfully, we have signs around our system, which allows us to share it abroad. We did create a dedicated landing page for those stories to be shared. We also had a very important piece, which was our internal audience. Again, reinforcing the fact that this was this wasn't a one and done, making people feel heard, sharing it through our internal channels, and again, driving that highlight to it. Here's our kind of big and large of all the different ways we kind of got this message across. And even this is a little dated because we've done so many additional things. But I think most importantly is not the award on the left. We did end up winning Best in Show for this at the National Association of Government Communicators last year. But more and more and more importantly is the fact that this helped draw attention to something that eventually the state of Massachusetts was created a bill and signed into law regulations that protect public transit workers. So assaulting a transit worker is now the equivalent of assaulting any first responder. And we've updated our messaging within the videos as well to kind of reinforce this piece. But it's great knowing that, again, it's a long process. It takes time. But it's great knowing that, we kind of help move the needle and raise that public awareness for such an important issue. That's it for me.
Great. Thank you so much, Andrew. We'll save some questions for you at the end of this, and we'll turn it over to Ed to talk a little bit about the alert solution.
Thanks, Heather. And thanks, Andrew. That was a great explanation of how the MBTA is using the solution. I'm going to share my screen and jump right into this, if that's okay. Hopefully everybody can see this okay. Put it in slideshow mode. So I just have a brief presentation, a few slides to explain how this works. But I thought Andrew did a great job explaining how the MBTA really leveraged the riders to enhance safety on the system. And, the secret sauce why this really works, it's discreet. It's quick for the public to do this without putting themselves in jeopardy. And actionable information, the location comes to the dispatcher, identifying the vehicle, and a lot of analytics and stats for the management to make decisions. A lot of agencies around the country are using this, and in addition, 5 of the largest airports in the country are also using it. It works when people have an easy way to report a concern they have. And, this is just another example, of I rely on you. I mean, I just loved the messaging of that campaign that the T put out there. And, messages like this, drunk guy threatening the driver, please send help, makes it actionable. People are able to intercept the bus and stop it before the situation escalates. And the reason it's really quick here, I just showed real quick how this works. There's only 2 big buttons: report a problem, call police. Most people click report a problem. You can type in a couple sentences what it's about, select a report type, and basically hit send, and you're done. So in under 30 seconds, whether it's an assault or fighting, a bus stop problem, disruptive, human trafficking, whatever it is going on that you're suspecting or concerned about, bang, 30 seconds, you can deliver it to someone who can actually do something about it. You're not just venting into cyberspace or social media. And, just a couple examples here. We did see the protective barriers that Bobby mentioned spreading throughout the industry, certainly when COVID hit, but also in reaction to the operator assaults increasing. And they're certainly good, and they have a purpose to protect the drivers. But, they have some downsides or compromises. They socially isolate the operator. And the riders look and say, wow, he's safe, but what about me? It gives the riders, a little bit of pause, I think. And clearly it doesn't protect everything. So this was a real report that came in from a rider. The drivers were in a bulletproof vest, not making me feel safe. So that has to be considered in any kind of solution that's put into place in public transit. What's the impact going to be on the riders when they see this? We want riders to feel safe, family-friendly transit. Everyone should feel safe on transit. But another story here about the barriers. I know different evolutions of barriers have gone through the industry and continue to evolve. I met a lady who drives a bus for years, and she told me a very interesting story. They had barriers on her bus, and she drives through a particularly dangerous part of a city, but it doesn't go to the ground. There's still a foot gap there. And one day she's driving, and there's a foot gap, and this guy got down on his belly and crawled through and bit her on the ankle while she's driving the bus at like 35 miles an hour. And she looked down at this guy, and I give this lady so much credit. She must have been a Curtis student. She did de-escalation to a T. She talked the guy down. She goes, "I'm going to crash the bus. I need you to back away, get off my ankle." And she considered like, reaching out at him, lashing, kicking him or something like that, but she kept control. She stayed calm and she didn't crash the bus and got the guy off the bus. But the connection with fare evasion is not a small one. I think a lot of studies readily admit or conclude that fares are a number one cause of driver assault. There's some kind of a beef about the fare, like the video that that Curtis showed, and it's an issue. And a lot of agencies are teaching the de-escalation, and the driver is not the captain or the owner of the bus. Let it go. Maybe say one thing, hey, you got to pay the fare, but that's it. They're not there to be the police department. And there's a definite relationship between fare evaders and bad actors getting on the vehicles. And this ties back to the broken windows theory. And this was really proven with Philly SEPTA. They used the fare evasion heat map that ELERTS generates, and they did data-driven policing. For the first 6 months of last year, they were able to reduce fare evasion reports 46%. And this is by doing data-driven policing, focusing on the areas where their police could be the most effective. And not only did they write a ton of citations for people evading the fare, they ended up arresting hundreds of people that had criminal warrants out on them that just can't resist evading the fare. So they really kept bad actors off the system. And, the bad actors are the ones who end up lashing out and, causing disruptions and possibly operator assaults. But, the FTA, I've heard this quote many a time. Not every fare evader is a criminal, but every criminal is a fare evader. For some reason, they just can't resist beating that $2.50 fare. And, it was an incredible dragnet that SEPTA was able to keep bad actors off the system. Another reason the solution works is it's equitable, and it's a six-pack of reporting tools. The mobile app is the power tool, but there's 6 different ways. We meet people where they live technically. You can report, text a tip. You can use your fare payment app to report, a web form. There's many different ways. So whatever you're comfortable using, that's what we make available. And what if there is a menace on board your bus? What's going to happen here? So the dispatcher gets this message. This is a real message. Rider with a switchblade is arguing with the driver, refuses to leave. Came in with a photo of the guy. And so the dispatcher back at the transit agency wrote back, "Thanks for the information. We're monitoring the cameras now. We're sending the police." So the only reason they were able to do that is because of the AVL integration. So knowing the GPS location of a report when a bus is cranking down the street at, 20, 30 miles an hour, whatever it's going, it's in a whole different zip code in 2 minutes. So we tie into the AVL and we tell the dispatcher, this is happening on bus 5055. And once they know that, if they have live looking cameras, they can light that up. They can look at that bus on their own real-time map, and they can make appropriate judgments on what needs to be done to take care of this situation. Apologize. This is a 12-second foul language. It's along the lines of the video that Curtis showed. But, this is a daily thing that goes on. I mean, bus drivers have to really put up with this. So sorry, 12 seconds.
That's the $500 charge now.
So nobody wants to go to work dealing with that, just like the bus driver Alik said on the video that Andrew showed. He wants to be respected as a father or a husband, wife, and go home at the end of the day. A serious situation that, I give transit drivers so much credit, dealing with the public and doing the de-escalation, the ones that are, learning and continuing to hone their skills. It really works. Another convenience for the riders is whatever app you already have to tell the riders to pay their fare, buy their tickets, trip plan, that can be built right in. We're partnered with many of the leading players in the industry, and that's throughout the country. This is implemented already. But data-driven decision seems to be what a lot of agencies are going after, and you need data to do that. So this system creates a ton of data. Heat maps showing where the major activity is, what's going up, what's going down, how many reports a day, and how many are coming in with photos and videos. And, all this is useful information to help you plan how to control whatever the situation is. And, it just makes sense to have the riders, as somebody mentioned, there's, millions or hundreds of thousands of people out there. Use their eyes and ears. Let them to participate in the safety of the system. And, my final slide here is just, I just urge you to not leave the riders wondering, what should I do when they see something? Making a phone call on a crowded bus or a train is not the smartest thing to do. If there's a violent offender on there, you very well might be the next victim. So having a discreet way to report is really a good way to go. And I appreciate your attention and attendance. I think we'll open this up to questions now.
Great. Thank you, Ed. Appreciate that overview. For everyone participating, we've actually only received one question in the comments section. I see potentially James's hand in the air. If you want to ask a question, if you don't mind putting it in the chat, then we'll make sure and address it. But the question was received pretty early on. It was directed to Bobby, who I know has signed off, but I thought I'd give the opportunity to our other presenters to talk about if their systems have experienced a change in physical versus verbal assaults on the systems. And so maybe Curtis, I'll ask you to briefly speak to what you saw happening in Pittsburgh before you retired.
Okay, do me one more favor. Repeat the question again, please.
Yep, the question was, could you tell us about the changes in physical versus verbal assaults on your system?
Okay, so one of the things that we noticed is the physical assaults usually occur when there's some kind of relationship with the passenger or the operator, right? It's usually one disagreement, something happens one time, and then those two become enemies for the rest 20 years, right? They see each other, there's some kind of relationship. It escalates over time. Bus operators sometimes pass people up when they have incidents with them. That escalates the situation sometimes. But also, the operators, sometimes they don't feel supported. So when I see the difference between the physical assaults, they're usually because there's some kind of relationship. The verbal stuff is usually, on scene right there. It's a real quick disagreement. And usually it's one done, you're done. But sometimes, that can escalate as well. So I think it's both of them are terrible, because if you're driving a bus, imagine someone yelling at you while you're driving a 60,000, pound bus, yelling at you or screaming at you or assaulting you. One of the videos, and just real quick, one of the videos that I actually show in my training is of an operator not paying attention to the person yelling at them, not noticing that this person is escalating. Every second this person's escalating to ultimately he attacks the operator while he's driving a bus. So we have to be aware of those things. I think you're on mute.
I was on mute. Yes, I was typing. I don't want y'all hear me clacking. Thank you for that, Curtis. I wanted to ask Andrew if he had anything to add to the remarks that you shared.
Was this regarding the
Yes, same question. Verbal versus physical assault changes.
I honestly don't have that data in front of me to say. I know there was at the MBTA, and I believe even nationally through FTA, changes in definitions to what constitutes an assault. So that kind of changes things on the back end. So I'd also just encourage people for your respective areas to be mindful of that change, because it might look like things are a lot better or a lot worse, depending on kind of how those changes have impacted that definition.
Great, thank you. Unfortunately, we are out of time. The four of you did such a fantastic job giving us an overview, and you used up all of our time, but that was the only question we had submitted as well. So I would encourage everyone to check the website next week for the video and the presentations, and reach out to our speakers today if you have additional follow-up. But again, thank you to eAlerts for sponsoring today's webinar, for all of you participating, and for our presenters. I wish you a safe and happy day, and until next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.